Hello, my name is Mark Fishkin, and I am the founder and executive director of the California Film Institute. It's my immense pleasure to welcome you to DocLands 2021. Even when I say it, I get excited, partially because it has been a very difficult year for everybody. But none of this could be possible without our donors, and our sponsors, and our members. It literally does take a village to make this happen. We believe in the importance of showcasing thought-provoking work. The films we highlight have great artistic content and social impact. They open a window to the world. They provide alternative views that are comprehensive and based on fact. And most importantly, they fulfill our greatest needs to create empathy and at their best, bring us together in these divisive times, a time when people fear that opportunities to see the kind of challenging and meaningful films we exhibit may go away. We hope to continue to create events that respect that kind of cinema that has resonated with audiences over the last 4 decades. Not only does it take a village and many different people to make this happen, it cannot happen without the specific work of our incredibly talented staff. I'd like to introduce now our Director of Programming and longtime staff member of the California Film Institute, Joni Cooper.
Thanks so much, Mark. I too would like to say a heartfelt thank you. The outpouring of support that we've received from all of you over the past year has been absolutely remarkable. We feel so very fortunate to be in a community that sees the value of our work and not only shares our passion for documentary film, but also sees the tremendous power it holds. You've kept us all going and supported us so we could even grow stronger during a time when we didn't even know what the future or even the next day would bring. After having to make the decision to postpone in March last year, a smaller version of DocLands 2020 was presented in October along with the Mill Valley Film Festival. I'm thrilled that this year's DocLands is back to its spring placement and happily extended dates for a better hybrid experience. Virtual screenings with a smattering of in-theater screenings for those who may be ready to get back to the big screen. Please stay for the Q&A at the end if you're able. And now it's my absolute pleasure to give you a first look at the 2021 DocLands Documentary Film Festival program.
For years, people have fought this struggle, fought for our land and water. And I was at a point where I felt like nobody cared. We're just people from here that stood up and asked everybody to come and stand with us. And they did.
The original pipeline was to go through North Dakota, but it was going through white people's land. So they redirected it, put it through the Indians.
What it all comes down to is wanting clean drinking water for our children.
One family. If we don't stand, who will?
And we are peaceful, prayerful people, but it's come to a point now where enough is enough.
Love is the strongest.
The world is run by corporations now. Who's kidding who? Democracy.
Our prayers would not be needed. Indigenous wisdom unheeded and sacred things depleted.
Are you telling the dogs to bite the protesters?
What is a fossil fuel? Continued destruction, nothing new.
I hear the rubber bullet. I see this one just coming straight for my eye.
Taking our children, shifting their feelings till nothing's true.
How many people know that the United States didn't allow us to raise our own families? We won that right in 1985.
They just put the fear in us so bad with hell and with that belt and with abuse. They'd come after you at night and take you someplace and made you do things you didn't want to do, and you thought it was your fault.
So when people ask, why is this the end of the line? Why are women standing up and saying, no, this is it?
Water is life!
It's because they've seen this happen to their children before.
We're disconnected, these times are hectic and feeling
The earth is not something we pollute, we take advantage of, that we rape. The earth is our mother.
That's why we walk with prayer. And if that wasn't true, we wouldn't be standing here.
Nobody thought any politician would have the guts. And I just closed my eyes and said, do it.
Have no fear.
We're still going to pursue the legal avenues. I have to leave a footprint.
People, hold your ground. Change is coming now.
The rhetoric is over. It's time for action.
I will never be considered in the dance world as simply a dancer. I will always be looked at as an anomaly because supposedly they focus on dance and the body. The reality is that they're interested in the perfect body.
Our general response is that to use crutches is to be miserable, to use crutches is to be awkward, to use crutches is to be pitiable. His performances re-script every single one of those stories.
Went straight from like learning how to walk to learning how to moonwalk.
He was doing a whole lot of falling before he was flying.
He always got up and tried it again. But there's no way Crutch got a pass. There's no way it was easier for him to get recognition or props.
No choice, man. No choice, bro.
He knows that he's being misunderstood.
He's an agent provocateur.
I'm just a skateboarder. I'm skating down the street.
He represents hip-hop and he represents skateboarding, and he puts them together in a way that is a one of a kind.
He's brought so much to the world because he lets people teach us about who they are.
What I actually encourage is to abandon assumption.
You know how bad I looked trying to dance on crutches the first time I tried?
This is Crutchmaster, man.
And he's been able to take that and turn it into something magic.
Everybody has crutches. Some of them you can see, some of them are invisible.
The Joy Luck Club went right to #1 on the bestseller list.
The Joy Luck Club was so massive when it came out. I mean, everybody loved it.
It had such a huge impact on paving the way for other writers of color.
My childhood, with its topsy-turvy emotions, has in fact been a reason to write.
Auntie Daisy and Uncle John were two of the founding members of the Joy Luck Club. It was hard to wrap my head around all the different aspects of Auntie Daisy's past. What helped is knowing the story of my grandmother being a concubine.
I didn't understand until I was an adult what she meant by sacrifices. We had many, many arguments. But I came home one day and she was raging and she pushed me and her eyes were glazed. In a way, they were gone. She was not a tiger mom. She was a suicidal mother. I think it was just an urge she would never be able to get rid of.
There you are, puffing away.
Oh. It was part of my decision to not be like her at all.
Amy really started writing as a mental health break from all of the business work that she was doing.
I started to ask her about her life. I would listen to everything. She loved the idea she was helping me to write.
Curry chicken potato.
Oh, yum.
Who are the characters in Amy's work? Her family, and people who really have gone through hell and somehow have come out of it.
I am not the subject matter of mothers and daughters or in Chinese culture. I am a writer compelled by a subconscious neediness to know, which is a perpetual state of uncertainty and a tether to the past.
princípio só se ouve a deslizar a onda e depois só se ouve assim. Esse é que é assustador. Mas o que me atraiu mais e o que me apaixonei mais foi o único desporto que a minha mãe disse: não vais para este. Foi o surf.
Sou uma pessoa muito inconsciente que faria aquelas ondas.
Em Portugal, aquilo que a Joana faz é visto como algo de fora, extraordinário, fora de série. É quase ver para crer.
Há tantos medos que nós guardamos e que não conseguimos desbloquear. E ao longo do tempo comecei a gostar de puxar pelo meu corpo, ficar sem respirar algum tempo para ver onde é que me levava. Eu acho que o surf salvou muito do lado dark da noite. Mas quando vou para dentro de água, eu estou cheia de medo, eu às vezes tremo.
This is going to be our swimming pool today.
Ihmiset hukkuu turhaan. Ne hukkuu sen takia, että ne menee paniikkiin. Että jos ne tietäisi, että mihin ne oikeasti kykenee hengen pidättämisessä, että jokainen perusterve voi tulla mun kanssa 8 tunniksi uima-altaalle, ne voi pidättää 2,5 minuuttia hengitystä. Ja 2,5 minuuttia on pitkä aika.
Okay.
My first teddy bear's name was Betty. I loved him more than anything else. Later, I often stood at this railing. I was convinced the big animals were excited about my visit. I want to know what will happen to me when I encounter this animal without a railing and at eye level.
Ja, das ist die Luna. Sie hat vor kurzem ihren Namen bekommen. Ja, und leider ist sie auch jetzt aus dem Bild rausgelaufen.
For more than 15 years, David Bittner has spent the summer months in the west of Alaska. This closeness, how is this possible with wild creatures? I'm seized by curiosity and by a longing for the wild and the unknown. I embark upon a journey with David, venturing into a region where more bears live than humans.
You know, this is the last real wilderness, I think, in the U.S.
Hey, Bear! Man muss dauernd damit rechnen, dass ein Bär über den Weg läuft. Man ist als Mensch in so einer Wildnis immer ein Störfaktor. Hallo, Mama! Also, das ist schon allersüssest, die Bärenfamilie. Schau mal dort, das sieht aus wie eine Szene vom Kampf. Ach du meine Güte. Einfach da bleiben schön. Du, okay. Ja, du Boss.
El sueño de cubano es ser alguien en el mundo. Y en Cuba perseguir el sueño es lo más difícil. Pero no, nada es imposible. Cuando Todavía a toda persona le llega su oportunidad.
Konnichiwa. 僕はあなたの息子のマリウス・クニヒコです。僕たちの連絡が途絶えてから27年経ってます。
Vi er jo de flinkeste og lager de beste filmerne.
Ja.
Og snart den beste dokumentarfilmen.
Prøv å finne noen som bor i Japan.
Ja, hva slags person vil du finne?
Det er familie. Det er min mor.
I'm handling those cases in 2 times a month or something. Maybe 50%. It's not successful. The relative or the mother, the father does not want to meet the children.
Men hva hvis vi ikke finner i det hele tatt? Det er no clues, og vi må jo på et eller annet tidspunkt gi oss da. Men kanskje vi lærte noe på veien. Og kunne si at min private katastrofe kan bli en god film. Det er faktisk veldig betryggende.
Jeg håper jo at det går bra nå, og at det ikke bare blir verre.
Det er jo en mulighet for at det her har vært hennes hemmelighet i 25 år.
At det er noen der ute, så skulle jeg ønske at du ikke fantes.
Det var ganske mange ting som skjedde ganske annerledes enn det jeg så for meg.
The greed economy is killing us.
We are so steeped in this commodification that it's hard to distinguish between being a consumer and being a citizen.
Seeing the documentary The Corporation, it opened my eyes.
Calling corporations psychopaths absolutely had an impact.
Can we take the resources of corporations and get them to focus on the needs of the poorest?
There is no such thing as corporate social responsibility.
They're literally playing casino with life on Earth.
The changes that we feared are coming faster than anybody thought.
It's completely out of control.
Corporations have figured out there are really big business opportunities in these public sectors.
Private schools for the poor is a $51 billion a year market.
Take the education system, take the healthcare system.
That's a direct threat to democracy.
Their reach cannot be underestimated. They know everything about us.
If we don't push back, we're going to live in a world in which they are governing us privately through the profit motive.
One of the largest corporate bailouts with as few strings as possible in American history. Shameful.
Global pandemic. What do we do now? Let's do a tax cut.
The pandemic revealed that we need to contain corporate power.
The democracy is trying to breathe. We can't breathe because of the weight of poverty on our neck.
We have not come here to beg world leaders to care. Change is coming, whether you like it or not.
Are you actually going to challenge the power of corporations? This is what the 2020s will be about.
You have to really ask yourself, what was your role in this moment in history?
Everyone can relate to grief of losing a loved one. But grief of losing your homeland, you don't realize how much you've lost until you stop and think about it.
Es como destruir nuestro corazón.
It's like we're all implicated by admitting that the way we live is causing a catastrophe.
If this land hurts, we hurt.
There's the
destrucción de la madre tierra es nuestra destrucción.
This culture is so unbelievably fucked.
It's time for revolution.
The thing with climate change, it's not like there's been one death and then we grieve it. This is continuous.
We need to tell the truth. We can't hide things just because it's not hopeful.
Out the way!
Will my grandchildren's eyes still be able to see what I see?
Estamos en un punto muy crítico.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that glimpse of our program. We're excited to finally be sharing it. I'd now like to introduce our dedicated programmers, Kelly Clement and Ken Jacobson.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Joni. Hey, Kelly. Hey, everybody.
I would like to find out if each of you have a standout film that you saw this year that you would like everybody to see. Kelly, do you want to start?
Sure. Well, there's so many to choose from, but one that I think really stands out for me is HAVANA LIBRE. You'd think right away that this is your normal, predictable surfing film, but it's far from that. It starts out wonderfully with the usual scenes of riding the waves, but soon we realize that it's more than that. We're going inside of a culture, and it's actually a culture that's been isolated from the rest of the world for all this time. And it's worth noting that surfing is illegal in Cuba, and these people are underground athletes that are trying to bring surfing into their culture.
And some great footage of the surfing, of course. Ken, how about you?
I really love that film too, Kelly. It's a great ride in more ways than one. The film that is on my mind today that I really love this film. It's called Radiograph of a Family, and it's from an Iranian director, Firoze Khosrovani. And you know, sometimes a film you gravitate towards a documentary because of the issue. And the issue here is the Iranian Revolution in 1979. But in the case of this film, it's really the incredible filmmaking, just the attention to craft. It is just so beautifully made. It's a look inside this Iranian family, the director's family, and it's a portrait of her mother and her father, and how the family was basically ripped apart because after the revolution, her mother, who is religiously devout, she really was inspired by the revolution, and really it signified kind of an awakening of her identity, whereas her father is on the other side. He's progressively secular, and the revolution really meant kind of the end of his way of life in a way. So the family gets kind of ripped apart by this. And the daughter, who's the director, she just does an amazing job of combining this really beautiful stylized footage of the home itself, which is kind of a battleground for these issues in the family, along with archival footage and family photographs and videos. And the end result is just an exquisitely made film. I just love this film.
Yeah, I did too. And what I found about that film is it's like their home is a character in the film because it changes as the times and the situation changes. This is a really tough to.
Your turn.
It is tough to choose, but for me, one of the films that really stood out and I believe shouldn't be missed is The Magnitude of All Things. I find this film to be an absolutely exquisite film from start to finish. incredibly cinematic. And the director, Jennifer Abbott, has taken sort of two situations. One, the death of her sister, and the other, climate change. And she compares how we feel about grief in each situation, or it's a personal film, so the way she feels, but the way she presents it in terms of a collective grief, especially around climate change. And in the end, even though it's a film about grief, it is a joyful film. And actually, that's one thing about our program this year that I found is almost every film has an element of joy in it, no matter the subject. We've got some questions that we've received. One question that we've got is, what film would you recommend for the whole family to watch? One is Playing with Sharks. And do you have any thoughts on that film?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great film. It's a portrait of Valerie Taylor, who started out her life one way as a diver and spearfisher, and she ends up being a great ocean conservationist. But Valerie is living proof that you can dive underwater and spend all this time in and around sharks, and she loves it and she lives for it. So there's a lot of joy in this film. She's in her 80s, she's still diving regularly, and she really comes alive, as does the film, when you see her diving underwater. And there's a lot of great underwater photography as well.
And how she's come to love those sharks. It's amazing. The other one, Kelly, I know that you did really like this film, Bear-like.
Yeah. Usually you stay away from bears, but in this one, you get to get up close and personal with bears. And I think this would be great for the whole family. I think kids as well as adults could sit down and have a great time with this movie.
Definitely. One other thing that I would mention, both for kids and families who are outdoor oriented and interested in conservation and the environment, I would recommend both shorts programs, On the Water and For the Love. And especially if you need a shot of pure joy, be sure and watch Shaba. It's a 12-minute short within the shorts program For the Love. There's nothing like the joy you'll find in that film. Another question that we have is, are there any films with limited streaming windows? Yes, we do have 5 films that will have limited viewing windows. And those 5 films are The New Corporation, an unfortunately necessary sequel, End of the Line, Women of Standing Rock, Try Harder, The Magnitude of All Things, and Rita Moreno, A Girl Who Decided to Go For It. These films will only be available for 48 hours throughout the festival itself. So watch for those and make note of when you'll be able to see those.
And they're all great, great films. So you won't want to miss them for sure.
Exactly. As are all the films in our program. You won't want to miss any of them. Are there any films by local filmmakers? Kelly, can you start?
Yeah, there's a film called A Once and Future Peace by an Emmy Award-winning director, Eric Metzger. And he's been in our DocLands Festival before. We've shown his films. And this is a wonderful film. It's actually a hybrid documentary. It's part animation and part live action. And it follows a teenager and his mentor. And it's all about a new approach to restorative justice. And I really recommend everyone see this one.
And another one, Ken, I think is Try Harder. What can you tell everybody about that?
Well, first of all, it's called Try Harder, with an exclamation point at the end. Don't forget the exclamation point. And I would definitely put an exclamation point around this film. It's a delightful film. It's set at Lowell High School in San Francisco. I believe the producer and the director, both Bay Area based filmmakers. And it really, it takes you inside the college admissions process from the point of view of very stressed out students and their parents. And it tackles the subject with humor, insight, and I think, it really, because it focuses so clearly on the student point of view, it kind of brings a real perspective to the topic and highlights some of the real problems, in our society about the pressures we put on young people and the obstacles that they have to overcome to just find out, who they are as people. So I really like this film. The tone is great. And it just kind of, the pacing, it just flies by. And it's really interesting to see inside one of the Bay Area's most renowned high schools.
Yeah, and the characters in that I just find so fantastic. They're just fabulous characters. And the other local film that I did want to mention is our beloved supporter and member and neighbor, Jamie Redford's final film, Amy Tan, an unintended memoir. Jamie did a fabulous job of bringing Amy Tan's work and her incredible enthusiasm and historic records of how her whole career came to be. And she's a local herself. So be sure and take that one in too.
Yeah, that's a really great film. And it's so clear that they had a wonderful rapport because, just because of the way Amy opens up to Jamie, and you just get all these great stories. And I just came away from that film feeling so good about her and her work. And it's a wonderful film. So warm and lovely.
Yeah. Another question we've received is, are there any lighthearted, joyous films? One that I think of right off the bat that I found incredibly joyous, though I did not know about this band at all, is the Sparks Brothers. Their music through at least 5 decades of music and career has just been incredible. And it's not that common for a band and all its members, even through the years, to have nothing bad to say about the leaders of the band. And the Sparks Brothers are actual brothers who have worked together through their entire career and have never buckled to the needs of commercialism.
Yeah, it'll be a great discovery for some people and great nostalgia for other people because they've been in the business for decades.
Yeah.
Another one from our Wonderlands category is Rita Moreno, the girl who decided to go for it. It's just so uplifting because she's been such a figure in show business for so many years, and is, we've all seen her in roles, different roles, especially West Side Story. We'll all remember that. But she really kind of challenged the film industry, being a Latina actress and just standing out there and not accepting these small roles and stereotypical roles. And she's still doing it today. And I think it's a very inspiring film that everybody would love.
Yeah, she's a firecracker. Wow.
She is, and she's so funny. I mean, that's the thing I loved about the film that I wasn't even necessarily expecting, is just, she just tells the greatest stories. She's really funny. I mean, even the title of the film, comes from a t-shirt that she puts on to wear to an award show, just a girl who decided to go for it. I mean, just her spirit and her humor are just amazing.
Yeah, it's one not to be missed.
Totally agree. Yeah. Another question that we've gotten is, are there limited capacities for films? And yes, there are. Despite the fact that they're virtual screenings, we do have to have capacity on them because that's at the request of distributors, sales agents, and the filmmakers themselves. We certainly wish we could ensure that everybody gets a ticket to each film, and I think our capacities are such that it shouldn't be a problem, but I still would advise you to get your tickets early if you don't want to miss a specific film. A question has popped up about Doc Pitch. They want to know about Doc Pitch this year. Yes, Doc Pitch is happening. We're doing it virtually again this year as we did last year, so everything will be online. For those of you who don't quite know what Doc Pitch is, we accept submissions from filmmakers who submit their unfinished projects. And of those submissions, 5 are chosen to be pitched live, or in this case, virtually, at DocLands this year. And they have opportunities to win cash awards.
You know, the proposals we got, the submissions for Doc Pitch this year, I thought were just at a whole other level. I mean, they were just incredible. I mean, I think word has gotten out among filmmakers, and we are just getting the cream of future projects. So I think, you know, winnowing it down to 5, God bless the people that had to do that. You know, but the audience is just going to have a great opportunity to see 5 stellar projects and, you know, kind of get in on the ground floor of what are destined to be 5 great films someday soon.
It's such a joy to actually be able to support filmmakers in this way. We have another question here. Somebody's asking, what is DocLands Honors? DocLands Honors was initiated a few years ago and presented to a filmmaker in recognition of exceptional storytelling within the documentary genre, an artist whose films resonate universally, emphasizing our common humanity, no matter the subject. And this year, in the case of the filmmaker, it's actually a filmmaking team. We're presenting, it's basically a career award to Julia Reichert and Stephen Bogner, who actually received the Academy Award last year for their film American Factory. But they have years of, decades actually, of experience and success with films that they've done to celebrate really the working people in the country. And to me, that really speaks to a common humanity and really appealing to a wide audience.
They're just 2 of the most delightful people working in this documentary world that you're ever going to meet. And, you know, I think they've also worked courageously on behalf of filmmakers. They're great advocates for the field. And, you know, there's a reason why the Obamas picked American Factory to be the first film under their Higher Ground umbrella production company. And then it went on to win the Oscar last year. It's a great film, and it's a film that really allows the subjects the full measure of who they are and what they have to say. It's not judgmental, and it's very much, I think, in the spirit, the generous spirit of Julia and Stephen as filmmakers.
And another question has just come in. Will there be conversations with filmmakers? This year we will be doing Q&As with the filmmakers. We'll be pre-recording them. So you will find each feature film will be accompanied by a conversation with a filmmaker or filmmakers, and you can watch those at any time. Looks like we have had our last question. So I'd just like to thank Ken and Kelly for joining us here today and helping us understand the DocLands programs. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Joni.
Thanks, Joni. See you guys later. See you at DocLands.
Well, I can see we're all thrilled about our program this year. And despite the challenges we faced, our team managed to pull together what I think is one stellar program. Thank you all for joining us to share in this news. We could not do this work or continue our mission without your ongoing support. So thank you. You should have received your DocLands program guide already. Please be sure to read it carefully for any limited viewing windows. We have endeavored to ensure there will be plenty of notice as you get acquainted with our program. I recommend the DocLands Online Pass, which will give you the full festival experience and can still be purchased for the early bird price until tomorrow. For those who just want to purchase individual tickets, they go on sale at noon on Friday. Almost every film, no matter the subject this year, seems to have an element of joy in it. And who doesn't want joy in their lives right now? As you take them in, you'll certainly be educated, entertained, or enchanted, and in some cases, all three at once. Again, thank you for being here. See you at the movies.